Hi guys, welcome to Robin Hood Diaries. Today, hope you're well. Relative concept, I guess I'm doing well. Who knows? I never know. What does being well, feeling well mean, really? Anyway, I previewed tonight's show saying something about being kind of like torn from Beverly Hills, put into an estate. And, I was a latchkey kid, so this was like a big change for me. So I'm really trying to whip through these things, you guys. I'm so sorry. So I was, let's back up to 1974, 75, okay? 74 is kind of when I made this shift. So 75. So I'm living in a fourplex with my mother right across from Beverly Hills High School, ground zero, Beverly Hills. She just divorced my father and started dating the devil. You can read about him in chapter 4. And so he decides that we're all leaving Beverly Hills and going to the Swish Alps. No, that's what they call the foothills above West Hollywood. Used to, us old timers. I know, so politically incorrect. So they lease option an estate in the hills above West Hollywood. So literally, if you're at Sunset and Fairfax and you're looking right up into the hills, there's the house. It was a double plot that just consumed the top of Fairfax that looks over all of West Hollywood and Los Angeles, LA, and on a good day, you could actually see Catalina, believe it or not. That's how up and above and looking at it was. So this is what they chose as the lease option to go and move. So again, it's way up there. There's a there's an empty lot, which was ours, next to this huge house. It's like a 3-story house. It was owned by a costume designer, and he was kind of like looking to get rid of it a little. Like, why? I have no idea. So we lease option this house. It's gigantic. I mean, literally the living room was like 2-3 stories high with beams across the ceiling. Huge space, big old balcony in front of the living room that again looked down and over the city, all over to Catalina and whatever. It was really, as a latchkey kid, a great place to sunbathe, listen to my little transistor radio, which was like a bar with 2 balls that you could spin, and it would play your 93 KHJ AM radio. It was great. It was the only thing going in LA at the time. So I get put into this house, right? And I don't know what to do with myself. I mean, like I said, I was a latchkey kid. He was a surgeon, and my mother was just, like working herself to death. Like an ox all over the place. So, and I didn't really have babysitters and stuff. So they plonked me into this giant estate. Like I said, it was nice. I'd like run around that giant like living room, like blasting, Bette Midler and, acting out all the Broadway type scenes of music and, how eclectic her albums could be. So once I was done with the balcony, and then finished exploring this gigantic living room, it was really weird because this house was gigantic, and get this, it's a 1-bedroom house. I was given what was the seamstress's quarters, which again, like I said, he was a costume designer, obviously had a seamstress living with him. Why, I don't know. He certainly wasn't straight. So I basically walked on literally pins and needles in my room, like not figuratively, like there were pins in needles in the carpet. The space that I was given was smaller than this loft. This loft we're in right now is not very big. And I had a bathroom. I mean, I was given a closet. Their bedroom had a full glass, thick pane taking up the entire wall that looked down over the view. Nice for them. Bathroom, closets, everything. And then there was this weird like middle room. There was, I don't know what, some kind of weird, I don't know, family room or whatever. So my poor, screw that. the one time he tried to bond with me is in making like you know how you put together cars in a box and take all the pieces off, and he just got pissed off in the middle of it and walked away. Typical. Sorry, don't want to get close to you anyway, no problem. So here we are in this house, and I'm this latchkey kid, and I'm given a Super 8 camera for Christmas. I'll never forget the Christmases in that house. Big old, I mean, the tree, you know, I could go to Mars. And so I was given this Super 8. Now in the 70s, Super 8 cameras were like, kind of like, how do I say it? Like this and this with a handle on the bottom. So it's kind of like you're holding like a little rectangle box with a handle. You just turn it on like that, and the Super 8 film obviously is inside. So I'm given this camera with nothing to do. Again, latchkey kid stuck in a mansion in the Swish Alps with nothing to do. So I'm given this camera. Now, it was a lot easier in the flats, as they call them. You don't want to know the first part of the flats term in West Hollywood. But that area where we moved to, where my like summer of love started, you know, 77, 78, 79, I told you that was, 78 was the year of my life. Well, 75 was not, but it definitely, the minute 79 hit, it was a nightmare. And that's in the book, and we'll go into that in future shows, since I have 7,000 shows to do, and I've already done 1,500. So I'm given this Super 8 camera in this gigantic mansion, double plot mansion, alone. I mean, alone. I mean, like, it was so alone that somebody broke into the house once, smashed down this, like, you know, friggin' like Moroccan gigantic door. Somehow, it was barred, smashed in, went in, they took, you know, electronics or whatever. So we come home, this is just like an example of what an Einstein my mother is. And we come home, and you have to go down steps to our front door, because everything's like, you know, in a state. And oh, what do you know, the window to the front door smashed in, the bars, everything. Normally, you would go call the police, right? Not Liz. Liz goes barging in, wanting to know who's here. So anyway, luckily there was no one there to slaughter her or me. And whatever, that, again, you know, it didn't even matter. The house was so fucking big. I mean, they wouldn't know what to do. The minute they got in, you go in, there's this gigantic stairwell, like the size of a house, all tiled, going down like 2 floors. I would have walked in there and been like, screw this, I don't even know where to start. But, so, whatever, here I am with my Super 8 camera. It's all I have. It's all I have to do. There's nothing to do in this estate in the Swish Alps. So I start making movies of anything. You know, there was this huge plot, another like $1 jillion now value plot behind our double estate. That was a hill. It was just a hill. So I would go up there to make movies. I just, like, you know, film, like, not anything, because I was latchkey in this estate, like, way removed from where, you know, like I said before, when we moved down to the flats, I had friends, I had neighbors. I mean, I always had friends, but not really up there. I didn't really have very many friends, like, at all. But in the flats, there were neighbors, you know, I had my first cigarette, you know, like a Moore 120 in the garage of my neighbor's grandma's, whatever. So that was a different scene for me, and that was that 1978 period-ish. So here I am wandering around this area, you know, with nothing but my cat and to play with, and this Super 8 camera. So my cousin Valerie, who I was very tight with, very tight, like tighter than any family member in my extended clans and sub-clans going all the way to Dublin. So I don't want to say she felt for me, but she would come up. And she knew I was obsessed with this Super 8 camera. So we decided we're going to make a movie, like my first movie, like movie, right? And this is something like I did, you know, I ended up doing for a little while, like my best friend, who y'all sort of are familiar with, he and I continued. I made Super 8 films with him, except the one I made with my best friend, our film was a horror movie. I mean, like the credits started with like blood bursting and